Hey, family, this is Dr. William Clark, your host of the Dr. William Clark podcast. Glad to be with you all for another episode. And this is the podcast where we focus on nonprofit capacity building. We help our customers think through strategies to develop their strategic plan and their fundraising approaches that can make a significant difference in their ability to meet their goals. And I'm super excited and thankful that you decided to spend this day with us. Today, we're going to be talking about grant writing strategies that can improve your process. And more specifically, we're going to talk about winning grant writing processes. Again, that's winning grant writing processes. And these are processes that we've used over the years, processes that continue to be integrated into the work that we do with our customers, as well as things that I've used in the past and things that have carried over, things that are still working to this day, things that are generating results for us as well as for our customers. And we want to share some of the things that we've learned with you. And as a part of the journey today, I want you to lock in, I want you to buckle in and be a part of what we have going on. Now, before we start talking about winning grant writing processes, I want to invite you to visit me at drwilliampclark.com. Again, it's drwilliampclark.com. And there you can schedule a free consultation with me to talk about your fundraising project. Maybe you have a strategic planning project that's coming up and you just want to talk a little bit about the journey and the process that goes into developing a quality plan and a quality fundraising plan. And you just want to have someone to bounce some ideas off of. Our team, we're available to meet with you and to talk with you about that. So if you have a project, go to drwilliampclark.com and schedule a free consultation. In addition, we have our nonprofit fundraising toolkit. I got to tell you, this toolkit is something that you got to get your hands on. Why is that? Because it's the ultimate DIY product. It is the product that we've designed to make it easy for you to develop your strategic plan and some of the tools that we're getting ready to talk about as it relates to grant writing and fundraising on your own. If it seems unrealistic and financially unreasonable for you to hire a consultant to help you with your strategic planning and your fundraising, I want to invite you to go to drwilliampclark.com and purchase your license to the nonprofit fundraising toolkit. That toolkit, I think, can be a super useful resource for a number of organizations who have a tight budget but still want as much value as possible. We've created that just for you. So go to drwilliampclark.com and get your hands on those resources today. Now, let's talk a little bit about winning grant writing processes that can make a significant difference in your organization. Now, why are we having this conversation? Why should you even care about winning grant writing strategies that can make a difference in your organization? Well, a number of you, a lot of you really, utilize grant writing as a mechanism to raise money. And you're not unique in this way. All right. You just need to understand you're not unique in this way. A lot of organizations generate 80% of their revenue through the proposal writing process. You can call it grant writing, you can call it RFPs, you can call it responsive to marketplace requests for qualifications. You can call it whatever you want, but you're putting together proposals, and that acts as 80% of revenue, over 80% of revenue generated for nonprofit organizations. So if you're spending a lot of time to generate 80% of your income to come into the door, how do we get better at this process of putting these proposals together so that you can continue to do it and get better at it, be more efficient at it, be more impactful at it, and really, I think, repurpose the time spent by the resources who are invested in this journey. A lot of organizations have limited resources committed to the journey of grant writing and proposal writing, but they do not know how to better position these resources, these human resources, to have the impact that they desire. So, to that end, I want to talk a little bit about grant writing proposals and the processes that are effective, that we found effective, that can make a significant difference. So, the first thing you want to think about is putting together a grant calendar. A grant calendar is an outlook of opportunities that you believe your organization may qualify for over the next 12 months or so. You want to put together this grant calendar over a 12-month cycle, particularly before your new fiscal year begins. And you want to look at that calendar based upon historical opportunities that your organization has pursued and attained, as well as opportunities that you believe you might be able to qualify for and compete for. When you have these opportunities on the horizon, it gives you the opportunity to plan and forecast your time as it relates to grant writing and gathering all the resources necessary. So if you know what's coming down the pike and over the next 30, 60, or 90 days, it really does change your ability to plan around all activities related to grant writing, as well as plan around activities related to just managing your organization. There are a number of you listening to this particular podcast, and you may be running a small shop, maybe around $500,000 mark. You may have less than 5 staff people. Yeah, your staff people have multiple jobs. And when you think about the reality of that, it's a necessity almost because of the limited resources. But that also means that there's a higher likely chance you do not have a dedicated resource whose sole job is to raise money, let alone write grants. This can be problematic and difficult for a lot of you who's listening. In fact, when we look at the data says that a lot of you believe that part of the reason you're not reaching some of your fundraising and financial goals is because you don't have enough time or staff to commit to the grant writing process. Others believe that there's a lot of time spent researching and finding grant opportunities. And then because there's limited time to do it and limited staff to do it, you really don't find the quality of opportunities that are out there that may be a fit for you. In addition, what makes all of this hard is the fact that it's hard to follow and keep up with funder requirements and best practices, their expectations. Then you add in the complexity of competition. Then you add in the complexity of not having strong funder relationships, and then putting together the proposal in and of itself, and then all the other little things that makes it extremely difficult for you to complete the grant writing process. And it becomes a hard ask. It becomes extremely difficult for a lot of folks to feel that they can compete and accomplish the role and the impact that's related to grant writing. Is that you? Do you feel like you're not able to compete? Do you feel like you're not able to meet your goals? Do you feel like you're not able to produce more applications and increase your chances, to increase the likelihood of you landing the right opportunity that can make a difference in your operations? If that's you, then one of the things you can do is look at creating a grant calendar. Now, once you start to create a grant calendar, it creates this snowball effect, because once you start creating it and you start to get into it in a repetitious way, you start looking at evaluating this calendar on an annual basis. What you'll notice is that some of these opportunities will begin to compound. And that means that your grant calendar will begin to become repetitious because the dates are generally the same with the same funder. And as you add new opportunities on the horizon, you'll be able to look at new opportunities to add to the calendar and add them to the flow of what you have already going on with your existing funders that you either have secured or funders you are currently courting and pursuing. So the grant calendar is an awesome way to look forward at what's coming down the pike and to plan your time accordingly. Now, if you want to have winning grant writing processes, the second thing you want to look at creating is a master grant application. A master grant application is a detailed, extremely detailed application that you complete in house that outlines and guides all of the programs within your nonprofit organization. This is extremely detailed to the point that sometimes I call it the program Bible for a nonprofit organization. It goes from soup to nuts, starting with the name of the organization and your mission and your EIN number and UEI number, your address, your website, social media handles, and then going on down and describing in extreme detail your programs, the demographic, your KPIs, your why, etc. It includes your values and a number of other things that we tend to walk our clients through. The reason you want to have a document like this in extreme detail is because it can speed up the grant writing process tremendously. I got to tell you, we've worked with a number of organizations that have shared with us, oh, yeah, Dr. Clark, we have that type of product in house, and we'll be glad to share with you. And we hear that and we're like, all right, great. And when we look at it, what we get For all the programs that they have and on their website, for all the programs that they've been running for years, what we tend to see is a very thin description of these programs in one place. In fact, for all the programs that they typically have a 2-pager total for all the programs, not each, total. That's extremely difficult. That it's impossible to think that you have completely organized your thoughts in a coherent way that can make a difference in your ability to speed up grant writing. So what we do is we walk our clients through developing a comprehensive master grant application, extreme detail about every program that they operate. There's extreme detail regarding every KPI that they use to measure their success. And we organize it in a very thick, detailed document. We do that for ourselves because it gives us a chance to know our customer and to learn things about them that we don't know, right? So we got to get to know our customer. But what we've also noticed is that a lot of our customers begin to learn things about themselves. They begin to discover things that they either have forgotten or they discover things that they didn't know existed because that was never part of their purview or they didn't think it was important for them to know. The master grant application typically has a 36-month shelf life. That means that if you write it today, within 36 months, it still should be relevant. We typically like to write the master grant application in alignment with strategic plans as well as with fundraising plans. So if you have your strategic plan and your fundraising plan and your master grant application all running parallel from a date and scheduling perspective, it allows for all 3 documents to be updated concurrently on a regular schedule, on a regular cycle. Now, we can do this out of cycle. Obviously, it depends upon what's going on with the customer. But at the end of the day, if we can, we love to help write all 3 documents in parallel. Or if you're working with another consultant, we write it in parallel and in conjunction with the other consultants you have on staff. We have found that these types of docs, like your master grant application, can make a significant difference in your ability to produce results a lot faster. Grant writing in and of itself does not improve the outcomes that you're looking to achieve when it comes to fundraising. However, it can definitely be a detriment to your processes and your schedule if it gets in the way, or if you don't have the systems in place to properly manage it, it can get in the way. So it is important that if you're going to hire a consultant like us to help with your grant writing or to have your staff become more efficient in your grant writing, you got to have a grant calendar that's forecasting opportunities over the next 12 months, sometimes 24 months. And then a master grant application that's very specific with all the necessary details that outlines and describes the very nature of your program and what makes it special and why funders should care. Now, as you're listening to this, if you feel that you need to have a conversation with us, go ahead and visit us at drwilliampclark.com to schedule a free consultation. We have someone standing by right now, ready to take your call, ready to speak with you about your project. And we'll be glad to explore ways to improve efficiency and to improve the way you write your grants. If you're feeling pumped up and you're saying, Dr. Clark, I'm ready to go right now. I'm ready to write grants right now, Dr. Clark. Give me the tools. Well, go over to drwilliampclark.com and click on the nonprofit fundraising toolkit. That toolkit is ready for you right now so that you can go ahead and draft your opportunities today. You can go ahead and put together your fundraising plan today. You can go ahead and do whatever you got to do to get going so that you can be your very best self within your organization. So today we're talking about winning grant writing processes and what you got to do, what you should consider doing right now to make a significant difference in your grant writing. And first, we talked about having a grant calendar. Number 2, we talked about a grant application. Number 3, you should have fundraising plans in place. Fundraising plans should be in place. And we talked a little bit about that, but I want to share a little bit in a little bit more detail what you should have in place for your organization. So there are 3 things, what we call the 3 secrets to effective fundraising, that we love to share with our customers that we do think is super important. Those three things include strategic planning or some sort of plans in place. We've talked a little bit about that. Then performance. And then lastly, relationships. So let's rewind. So the third fastest way to raise money is through strategy. Strategy includes your strategic plan. We just talked about that. Your fundraising plan. We just talked about that. Your master grant application. We just talked about that. Your leadership development plan. We haven't talked about that. But if you want to develop leaders and develop talent up and down the organization, one, it's a great plan to have. You probably should have that. But at the same time, it's part of the portfolio of planning docs you should have. Maybe there's an HR plan that you should develop. Maybe there's a communication marketing plan, an IT plan, a quality assurance plan. Whatever is necessary in the planning phase of your organization, you should have that. But understand this, that if you, or when you rather, or rather you do develop these plans, when you develop these plans, understand that strategy is the third fastest way to raise money. In fact, it's the slowest way to raise money. And it's intentionally structured that way because it's very bureaucratic. Raising money through strategy alone is very bureaucratic because it takes months to develop the right plan in all those categories I listed. I mean, you possibly can do that stuff overnight, but there's no way of knowing that those plans really are fit for where the organization is going. So if you're going to engage in quality planning in all those categories, you need to spend quality time, which means that it becomes very bureaucratic. You got to have buy-in from internal staff, frontline, and leadership. You got to have buy-in from your external stakeholders, your customers, your board, your funders, etc. And at the end of the day, if there is no buy-in, or if people are feeling that their voice is not heard, or a particular perspective is not being heard within this particular plan, it's going to take a little while longer. And it just happens. It's a part of the process. It's part of the journey. It's nothing bad. It is what it is. And so at the end of the day, you have to understand strategy is important, but it's the third fastest way to raise money. And if you're wholly relying upon strategy to raise money, you're going to be sitting here for quite some time waiting for things to materialize. So then this moves us to performance. Performance is the second fastest way to raise money. If you're going to fundraise, you got to understand, as a nonprofit organization, your performance or the lack thereof can either raise you money or lose you money. I've been in situations where we have written amazing grant applications for ourselves, for nonprofits that we've led and ran, and for our customers. And at the end of the day, what caused funding decisions to go in one way or the other was the presence or the absence of performance at the end of the day. So you still have to do the work. You still have to be qualified. You still have to be skilled at doing the work. And if you're not skilled at doing the work, if you're not performing well at doing the work, what's going to happen is that you will lose funding. And for some of you, you might not realize you've lost the funding until 12 months later, when you're no longer invited to submit an application, or you've submitted an application and the funding stream stops. It typically may take 12 months, sometimes sooner, to discontinue the funding. And it's because of poor performance. And we harp on this with our customers a lot, because the operations really is a significant key to raising money. Strong leadership, strong staff, strong policies, strong processes, strong ways of doing business, strong ethics makes a difference in a funder's trust in you to do the work. And it increases their trust in approving you for funding opportunities that they have coming down the pipe. So performance can be a significant contributor to you raising money. We have seen over time that sometimes some grant applications are not that great, but the performance is so strong, the funder can't deny it. And they know that we got to do business with this particular organization. We got to work with this group. They can approve in grant writing, but man, we got to work with this group because they just get results. And it's obvious and everybody sees it. So performance is key. Then lastly, relationships is the fastest way to raise money. If you haven't done so, you got to focus your time and energy on raising money through relationships. This is vital for the operations folks, fundraising folks, frontline folks, obviously senior staff folks. We cannot dismiss the importance of relationships. I'm talking about good working professionals, sometimes personal relationships with our funders, because it can mean the difference between a phone call or a text message or email that says, hey, got an opportunity. I think you're a fit. You need to look out for it. It's coming out in 5 minutes. Enough said. Say less. Say less. Those opportunities are priceless. They're precious. They're wonderful. And we can't take it for granted. But it's because relationships have been developed over years. Fastest way to raise money. When you combine all three, strategy, performance, and relationships, you can make the grant writing process much, much easier. Can't tell you how many times I've been in situations where we've had strong relationships and it made the grant writing process easier. Doesn't make it easy, it just makes it easier, right? So we know we're writing with the purpose, we're writing towards a particular outcome, we're writing because there's been an investment of time in relationships, and we know that we can, really invest ourselves because we have a high chance of landing opportunities. Makes a significant difference in the effort that's put forward. Yeah, performance. When you know that you've been doing very well and crushing it, and I mean crushing it in delivering results for your customers and funders, just know people are going to be looking and talking. They see you crushing it. You may not get the nod this time for the opportunity, but keep crushing it because the opportunity is going to come. It's going to come where you're going to be able to pursue opportunities and you're going to land them. And it makes it easier to write the grant because you have the stats, the performance to back it up. And lastly, when you have those strategies in place, you can talk about a vision, right? Because strategy documents are all about vision documents. They're vision casting. They are communicative about a future that's coming. And that's important too. Because funders want to know, well, where are we going with this? What are we going to be doing with this? What is it that we're going to be accomplishing with this? We need to know what the future looks like. What does tomorrow look like? So the strategy documents, your strategic plan, your fundraising plan, your master grant application, your leadership development plan, your marketing plan, your HR plan, your quality assurance plan, your IT plan, your operational plan, et cetera, whatever plan you need, these things can make a significant difference in building trust. And it makes the grant writing process, say it with me, easier. Because now we have documents to draw from, information to draw from, and I don't have to go to my clients 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times to ask them what they think, because I can read their vision right here. It's complete, it's thorough, it's been fully vetted by stakeholders and partners and board members, etc. Everybody has bought into this thing. It makes a significant difference. Gotta tell you, I've been on the other side of this where we ran programs, and the absence of these documents or the absence of performance or the absence of relationships makes it easy. It makes it very hard. Makes it very hard, rather, to write grants. And at the end of the day, we're trying to help you improve your processes so that you can land more opportunities. It can happen. So we're talking about winning grant writing processes, and we talked about 1, develop a grant calendar, 2, a master grant application, 3, fundraising approaches. Before we get to our last item here on winning grant writing processes, I want to invite you to visit me at drwilliampclark.com. If this is resonating with you, I want you to go ahead and schedule a free consultation with me. And I want you to book that time that works for you so we can talk about your capacity building project. Somebody is waiting for you on the other side so that we can talk with you about your project. In addition, if you like what you're hearing and you're ready to get started right now, you can download the Nonprofit Fundraising Toolkit by going to drwilliampclark.com. We have a lot of these templates ready to go, waiting for you, so you can go ahead and start working on them right now. Maybe your budget isn't sufficient to hire a consultant or hire a new staff person, but you're ready to get going. You're ready to engage your staff and your board and your stakeholders in a new way. Well, we got the tool for you. Go ahead and get your access to the Nonprofit Fundraising Toolkit. And in fact, as we add new elements to the toolkit, you will automatically be grandfathered in to receive those new items every time we upload them. So you get it now, you will always be grandfathered in. Go to drwilliampclark.com and get your copy of the toolkit. So last item here, winning grant writing processes. the last thing you want to do is you want to be efficient with the grant writing process. You want to be efficient with the grant writing process. This means you want to use technology to your advantage. But then, more importantly, what I want to share here, because we talked about technology in a different episode here, but I want to share this idea with you. I've noticed that a lot of times some organizations can have way too many checkpoints when it comes to grant writing. And it might be for good reason. Sometimes it's because they've been burned by bad processes or bad writing. The quality assurance isn't there where there's no checkpoints to review or folks don't have time. There are tons of reasons for this. But I think when you think about grant writing efficiency and improving the process, it does include hiring good grant writers, fundraisers who are not only good at what they do, but they love it. Because essentially, a grant writer is in a sales business, except that they do their selling through their writing. And if you have people who are in these positions who don't love what they do, they don't like sales, they don't like marketing, they don't like pitching and framing and telling stories, which is what grant writing is, you might have the wrong person in that position. So you need to have somebody who's good at it and who absolutely loves it. If you hire smart, hire right, whether you hire with a staff person or a consultant, what you may notice is that the friction goes down quite a bit. There's not much friction in the writing process. There's not much friction in the review process. In fact, there's a lot more trust involved. If you look at the things that we've talked about, a grant writing calendar, a master grant application, the implementation of these fundraising strategies, friction should go down, period. Period. Because if for example, if you're writing with all these master documents in place and you're drawing inspiration from these docs that already exist, that have been published and approved and voted on, et cetera, then what I'm writing is nothing but a regurgitation of what's been approved. I'm just putting it in a format and rearranging some sentences that aligns with the interests of the funder, that aligns with the categorizations of the funder, the sections, the questions of the funder. That's what should happen. And if there's a organizational trust, an organizational shift in realizing that everybody impacts grant writing from soup to nuts, no matter if you put pen to paper or not, whether you upload documents or not, you can improve the process. In addition to improving a process for efficiency, there should be a centralized location where all critical documents that typically get uploaded to a grant application are in a central cloud location. There are enough resources that are out there today, from Dropbox to Google Drive to OneDrive to etc., where you can store documents for your organization and everybody can access it. The days of walling off people from accessing critical documents so they can move faster and be more efficient, those days have to end, y'all. We have to open the door for everybody to do their job without firewalls. Yeah. The last thing I'll say about efficiency, and this is still part of number 4 here, is that having a schedule of writing in place can make a significant difference. Now, this is beyond the schedule for the 12-month calendar. This is how long should it take for us to write a grant. So if you download the nonprofit fundraising toolkit, there is a grant writing calendar or schedule of what to do, the 4 or 5 steps you need to take from beginning to end, with the end being submission, how long it should take for you to write the grant. This includes writing. This includes document gathering. This includes feedback. This includes tweaking and editing. This includes submission. Shouldn't take you no more than 5 days. If you're really good, you can do it in a day. You can do it in hours. If you take into account all the things that we've talked about in this particular broadcast, if you look at our history of all the recordings we've done in this particular broadcast or podcast or on my channels, you put all that stuff together, you can get stuff done relatively quickly. You can. Trust me, you can. It shouldn't take you that long. And if you still need days to do it, we got a process that helps you get there from soup to nuts in 5 days. But you got to stop stressing. You got to stop overthinking it. Just boom, boom, boom. Now, We went through quite a bit in this particular broadcast. We talked about quite a bit in this particular broadcast. If you need to walk with somebody through this process, we are here to do that with you. This is why we are offering the free consultation, right? It's a consultation. It's not necessarily you leading to a point where you're going to hire us. Some people end up hiring us, and we're happy to engage and build a deeper relationship with you if that warrants it. But sometimes you just need somebody to help you get over the mental hurdles that are standing in the way. Give us a call, schedule a conversation with us. We'll be glad to speak with you. Maybe you're at a point where you're saying, you know what? I don't need to talk. You said enough, Dr. Clark. Say less. Give me the tools today. Well, go to drwilliampclark.com and download the nonprofit fundraising toolkit. You got all you need. You can make it happen, Captain. Yes, you can. And that toolkit can be one of several resources to help you. But we believe we put together an amazing set of resources to get you from here to there, to help you improve your grant writing processes so that you can continue to win and continue to succeed and to continue to be successful. I hope that this particular podcast has been helpful to you. This is Dr. William Clark, and I'll be glad to see you in a free consultation, or glad to work with you as you download the toolkit. Other than that, y'all be safe. See you next time in the next episode.